Have you ever wondered why you can't think your way out of sadness? You know what I'm talking about. That moment when you tell yourself all the rational reasons you should feel fine, and your brain just sits there unmoved, like a bored teenager listening to a lecture. There's a reason for that. Your thoughts aren't in charge. Never have been. 4 molecules are running your emotional life right now. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, cortisol. You've probably heard these names before. Maybe you dismissed them as medical jargon, something that happens in other people, in laboratories, in textbooks. But here's what nobody tells you. These chemicals are making decisions about your reality faster than you can form a conscious thought about them. Right now, as you listen to this, your brain is bathing in a specific cocktail of these substances. That cocktail is determining whether you feel motivated or defeated, connected or alone, calm or anxious, and you didn't choose the recipe. Dopamine gets all the press, the pleasure chemical they call it, the reward molecule. But that's not quite right, is it? Because dopamine isn't about pleasure at all, it's about wanting. There's a difference, and that difference is running your life. Think about the last time you really wanted something, not needed it. Wanted it, that pull, that magnetic draw toward the thing, the person, the experience. That was dopamine talking. Notice something interesting though. The moment you got it, what happened? The wanting vanished. Sometimes the thing itself felt almost disappointing compared to the anticipation. Your brain just played a trick on you. Dopamine rises in anticipation, not in satisfaction. It's the chemical of pursuit, not arrival. Animals in labs will press a lever to get a dopamine hit until they collapse from exhaustion, ignoring food, ignoring sex, ignoring everything except that lever. Humans do this too. We just have more sophisticated levers. Social media notifications, dating apps, shopping carts, career achievements, each one promising satisfaction, each one delivering just enough to make you reach for the lever again. You're not weak for doing this. You're biochemically designed for it. Evolution doesn't care about your happiness, it cares about your survival and reproduction. Dopamine exists to make you chase resources, status, mates, novelty. It's supposed to keep you hungry, keep you moving, keep you never quite satisfied. A content ancestor was a dead ancestor. The ones who survived were the ones who could never sit still, never stop wanting. But here's where it gets interesting. Your dopamine system can't tell the difference between a life or death pursuit and checking your phone. It responds the same way. That little buzz of anticipation when you refresh your email? That's the same neurochemical signature as a hunter tracking prey. Your ancient brain meeting modern stimuli. No wonder you feel exhausted. How long can you go without checking something? An hour? 10 minutes? Notice what happens in your body when you try. That restlessness, that itch, that vague sense that you're missing something important. That's dopamine depletion talking. You've trained your brain to expect regular hits, and now it's demanding them. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Every time you give in to that demand, you're deepening the groove, neural pathways strengthening, the behavior becoming more automatic, more compulsive, less conscious. You think you're making choices, but you're running a program written in chemicals you can't see. Let's talk about serotonin for a moment, the confidence molecule, the status chemical. This one's fascinating because it works completely differently in different organisms, yet the pattern is always the same. Give serotonin to a lobster low in the dominance hierarchy and watch it stand up straighter, become more aggressive, challenge higher-ranking lobsters. Take it away from a dominant lobster and it becomes submissive, anxious, withdrawn. You have more in common with that lobster than you'd like to admit. Your serotonin levels right now are communicating something to you about where you stand in the world, not where you actually stand, mind you, where your brain thinks you stand. There's that gap again. The map is not the territory, but your neurochemistry can only read the map. Low serotonin doesn't just make you sad, it makes the world look different. Threats appear larger. Social situations feel more dangerous. Your own thoughts turn against you. This is why depression isn't just a mood. It's a completely different perceptual reality, chemically induced. Here's what they don't tell you in the pharmaceutical commercials. Serotonin isn't just about individual brain chemistry. It's about social position, perceived status, sense of control over your environment. You can flood your brain with serotonin precursors, but if your life circumstances keep signaling low status, the chemistry will fight you. Your brain is constantly asking, am I safe? Am I valued? Do I have control? The answers arrive as feelings, not thoughts. Serotonin is one of the messengers delivering those answers. Think about the last time you felt genuinely confident. What were the circumstances? Chances are something in your environment had changed to signal safety, value, or control. Maybe you accomplished something, maybe someone recognized you, maybe you helped someone and felt needed. Your serotonin responded to the social signal. Now think about anxiety. What's the chemical signature of that? Often it's low serotonin combined with high cortisol, your brain sensing threat without adequate resources to meet it. The world becomes hostile, your body prepares for danger, and you're stuck in the middle trying to think your way out of a chemical reality. Cortisol is the stress hormone. You already knew that. But do you understand what stress actually is at the molecular level? It's your body's emergency broadcast system. Something threatening has been detected. All resources redirect to immediate survival. Heart rate up, digestion down, immune system suppressed, memory formation enhanced for the threatening event, time perception altered. This system saved your ancestors from lions. It's destroying you in traffic. Your body can't tell the difference between a physical threat and a social one, between a predator and a deadline, between actual danger and imagined catastrophe. Cortisol floods your system either way. And here's the problem. Cortisol is supposed to spike and then drop, short bursts, emergency only. But you're living in a state of chronic elevation. What does that do to a person over time? It rewires your brain, literally. The hippocampus, where you process memory and learning, shrinks under chronic cortisol exposure. The amygdala, your fear center, grows. You become better at detecting threats and worse at remembering that most of them never materialize. Your brain is adapting to perceive a dangerous world, which makes you produce more cortisol, which strengthens that adaptation. You're trapped in a feedback loop written in chemistry. Notice something about all three of these chemicals we've discussed so far. They're ancient. Dopamine exists in insects, serotonin in lobsters, cortisol in reptiles. These are old systems. They evolved for environments completely unlike the one you inhabit. Your neurochemistry is running Stone Age software in a digital world. Is it any wonder you feel off? But there's a fourth chemical we need to talk about, oxytocin, the connection molecule, the bonding hormone. This one's different because it actually feels good in the present moment, not just in anticipation. When you hug someone you love, oxytocin releases. When you help a stranger, oxytocin releases. When you feel genuine belonging, oxytocin is involved. This is the chemical that makes you human in the deepest sense. Mammals evolved oxytocin to facilitate mother-infant bonding. Without it, mothers wouldn't care for helpless offspring. The species would die out. But humans took this system and expanded it. We bond with friends, partners, communities, even strangers. We get oxytocin hits from cooperation, from trust, from being seen and seeing others. Here's what's interesting. Oxytocin doesn't just feel good, it actually counteracts cortisol. Physical touch, genuine connection, feeling part of something larger than yourself. These things literally calm your stress response at the chemical level. Your body knows what it needs, but you're probably not giving it that, are you? How much genuine face-to-face physical contact do you have in a day? How often do you experience real belonging, not the digital simulation of it? When was the last time you felt truly seen by another person, not performing, not managing impressions, just present and accepted? Your oxytocin system is starving in an age of abundance. You have more ways to connect than any human in history and less actual connection. The irony is thick enough to choke on. Think about this. Your phone gives you dopamine hits that feel like connection. The notification, the like, the comment. But it's not triggering oxytocin. You're getting the wanting without the bonding, the anticipation without the satisfaction. You're running on empty while feeling constantly stimulated. What does that do to a person's baseline emotional state? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone, let's say it's you, who wakes up already reaching for their phone, cortisol from sleep deprivation, dopamine seeking from the first scroll. Breakfast is fast, eaten while reading news designed to trigger threat responses, more cortisol. Commute in isolation, maybe some rage at traffic, cortisol spiking, work demands that require constant task switching, never quite achieving flow, dopamine seeking without satisfaction. Lunch alone, scrolling again, evening collapses into streaming services, each episode promising satisfaction, each ending with next episode and another dopamine hit that doesn't quite land. Where's the oxytocin? Where's the serotonin from genuine accomplishment, from status earned through contribution? Where's the moment when cortisol actually drops? You're running a chemistry experiment on yourself and wondering why the results feel toxic. But here's what's truly fascinating. You can know all of this and still not change. That's the really unsettling part. Understanding dopamine doesn't make you immune to its pull. Recognizing cortisol doesn't calm your stress response. Intellectual knowledge sits in one part of your brain while the limbic system, the emotional brain, just keeps running its ancient programs. Why is that? Because these chemicals operate below the level of conscious thought. They're evolutionarily older than your capacity for self-reflection. You're a rider on an elephant thinking you're in control while the elephant goes where its chemistry directs. Your conscious mind is mostly just narrating the journey, making up stories about why you feel what you feel, creating the illusion of choice. This is where people get uncomfortable. Nobody wants to hear that their feelings are entirely their own, that they're being puppeteered by molecules they can't directly control. We prefer the story where we're autonomous agents, choosing our responses, mastering our emotions through willpower and positive thinking. But that story is just another chemical state trying to make sense of itself. Here's a question. Have you ever tried to force yourself to feel differently? To think your way out of anxiety, or will yourself into motivation, or decide to be happy? How did that work out? Your thoughts can influence your chemistry, but they can't override it. This isn't weakness, it's biology. A thought is just another electrochemical event in the brain, and it's playing by the same rules as everything else. You can't think your way out of a chemical state any more than you can think your way out of being drunk. So what do you do with this information? Most people, when they learn about brain chemistry, make one of two mistakes. Either they become completely deterministic, I'm just a chemical machine, nothing matters, free will is an illusion. Or they become overly controlling, I need to optimize every variable, biohack my neurochemistry, engineer the perfect brain state. Both responses miss the point. The point is much simpler and much stranger. You're a process, not a thing. Your mood, your personality, your sense of self, these aren't fixed states. They're ongoing chemical conversations between your brain, your body, and your environment. Every moment the mix is changing. You're never the same person twice. Does that terrify you or free you? Because here's what it means practically. You can't control your chemistry directly, but you can absolutely influence it. Not through force, through environmental design, through understanding what your neurochemical systems actually need versus what they've been trained to seek. Your dopamine system needs real achievement, not infinite scrolling. It needs pursuits with clear endpoints, not open-ended wanting. It needs the satisfaction of completion, not just the high of pursuit. When was the last time you finished something and actually let yourself feel finished? Your serotonin system needs to feel valued and safe. It needs contribution to something larger than yourself. It needs social recognition that's genuine, not performed. It needs you to actually have status in some domain that matters to you, even if that domain is small. Your oxytocin system needs physical presence, actual humans, real touch, genuine vulnerability, the kind of connection that can only happen when you're not managing your image, when you're just existing alongside someone who sees you. Your cortisol system needs rest, actual rest, not stimulation switching. It needs your environment to feel safe enough that the threat detection system can power down. It needs you to stop treating every email like an emergency and every uncertainty like a catastrophe. Notice I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just pointing at the gap between what your chemistry needs and what your life is providing. You already know this gap exists. You feel it every day. That vague dissatisfaction, that chronic low-grade anxiety, that sense that something is fundamentally off even when everything appears fine on the surface. That's not a character flaw. That's accurate perception. Your neurochemistry is trying to tell you something. The question is whether you're going to listen. Here's what makes this so difficult. The modern world is designed to hijack these systems, not through conspiracy, just through incentive structures. Every app, every advertisement, every social platform is optimized to trigger dopamine without satisfaction, to create wanting without fulfillment. You're swimming in a sea of supernormal stimuli, things your brain never evolved to resist. A gazelle never sees 100 gazelles that are faster, more beautiful, more successful, all in the space of 30 seconds. You do every time you open social media. Your serotonin system crashes under the weight of infinite comparison. A hunter-gatherer never experienced the constant, unending stream of potential threats from around the world. You do every time you check the news. Your cortisol system treats each story like an immediate danger. A tribal human never had to choose between 500 potential connections while being genuinely close to almost none of them. You do every day, and your oxytocin system withers from the paradox of connected isolation. Your chemistry is responding rationally to an irrational environment. You're not broken. The context is. But you can't change the context for everyone. You can only change your relationship to it. And that starts with noticing, just noticing. When dopamine has you reaching for the phone, can you notice the reaching before you act on it? When cortisol spikes in traffic, can you notice the spike without adding narrative drama to it? When you're craving connection, can you notice whether you're reaching for the real thing or the simulation? Noticing doesn't fix anything, but it creates a gap. A space between stimulus and response. In that space, something new becomes possible. What becomes possible isn't control, it's choice. Not the illusion of choice that your conscious mind narrates, but actual choice rooted in understanding what's actually happening in your system versus what you've been conditioned to do about it. This is where it gets subtle. You can't fight your neurochemistry. Fighting creates more cortisol, more stress, more of what you're trying to escape, but you can work with it. You can design your environment to support the chemical states you want to inhabit more often. That might mean different things for different people. Maybe it means building in actual achievement cycles instead of infinite task lists. Maybe it means prioritizing one deep friendship over 100 shallow connections. Maybe it means creating real boundaries instead of being perpetually available to every demand. Maybe it means getting honest about what you're actually optimizing for. Because here's what I've noticed: most people are optimizing for feeling productive while being busy, for feeling connected while being alone, for feeling safe while consuming threat information, for feeling satisfied while in a state of perpetual wanting. These are contradictions. Your chemistry knows it even if your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. The gap between what you say you want and what your behavior reveals you're seeking, that gap is where your actual chemistry lives. Your stated goals might be peace, connection, fulfillment. But if your daily choices consistently produce cortisol, dopamine seeking, and oxytocin depletion, then those stated goals are just stories. Your chemistry is showing you your real priorities. This isn't a judgment. It's an observation. You can't change what you don't see. So look, really look, what chemical states are you producing in yourself day after day? What's the actual emotional texture of your life, not the story you tell about it? What does your neurochemistry need that it's not getting? What is it getting too much of? These aren't rhetorical questions, they're invitations to notice something real. Here's what's strange about brain chemistry: it's both completely mechanical and utterly mysterious. We can measure the molecules, we can track the pathways, we can even intervene pharmaceutically. But the subjective experience of consciousness, of being you, of feeling what it's like to be bathed in this particular cocktail of chemicals at this particular moment, that remains inexplicable. You are both a chemical process and something experiencing that process, both completely determined by physical laws and somehow capable of observing those laws operating within you. The observer and the observed, somehow one thing. Does that not strike you as worth paying attention to? Most people spend their lives on autopilot, letting their chemistry drive while their conscious awareness narrates the journey. Occasionally something disrupts the pattern, a crisis, a loss, a moment of clarity, and for a brief window they actually notice what's happening. Then the chemistry reasserts itself and they slip back into the dream. But you can train yourself to notice more often, not through force, through curiosity. What does dopamine seeking actually feel like in your body before you reach for the lever? What's the texture of cortisol rising? Can you catch serotonin fluctuating based on social feedback? Can you notice the warmth of oxytocin when it actually arrives? Your feelings are chemical events, but they're also information. They're your body's way of communicating about your environment, your status, your safety, your connection. The problem isn't the feelings themselves, it's that you've been taught to override them, ignore them, medicate them, or indulge them without actually listening to what they're saying. What if you just listened, not to change them, not to fix them, just to hear what they're trying to tell you? Anxiety might be saying your environment doesn't feel safe. Constant dopamine seeking might be saying you're not getting real satisfaction anywhere. Low mood might be saying your life lacks genuine status or contribution. Loneliness might be saying you need actual physical presence, not digital simulation. These messages are incredibly straightforward when you stop arguing with them. But here's the catch: listening means you might have to change something real, not your thoughts, not your attitude, your actual life, the situations you're in, the relationships you're maintaining, the work you're doing, the environments you're inhabiting. Chemistry responds to reality, not to stories about reality. You can tell yourself you're fine in a situation that's producing chronic cortisol, but your body knows better. You can tell yourself digital connection is enough, but your oxytocin system isn't fooled. You can tell yourself one more achievement will satisfy the dopamine seeking, but it never does. Your neurochemistry is more honest than your narrative. It's responding to what's actually happening, not what you wish were happening or what you tell others is happening. This is why self-awareness without action is just sophisticated self-deception. You can know everything I've told you, understand it perfectly, and still remain trapped in the same patterns. Because knowing doesn't change chemistry. Only changed conditions change chemistry. So the real question isn't what you know. It's what you're willing to do with what you know. Are you willing to build your life around what your neurochemistry actually needs? Or will you keep trying to force your chemistry to accept conditions that make it miserable, wondering why positive thinking and willpower keep failing? Your brain is trying to help you survive. That's all it's ever been trying to do. The problem is that the environment it evolved to navigate no longer exists, and the environment you inhabit now is triggering responses that don't serve you. Constant threat detection in the absence of real threats. Perpetual wanting in the presence of abundance. Social comparison on a scale that makes everyone feel inadequate. Your chemistry isn't broken, it's just confused. And you're the only one who can provide the clarity it needs. That clarity comes from alignment. making your environment match what your neurochemical systems actually require to function well. Not perfectly, not optimally, just well enough that you're not constantly fighting your own biology. What would that look like for you? Not for someone else. For you specifically, with your particular chemistry in your particular life situation. Only you can answer that. I'm just pointing at the question because ultimately this isn't about brain chemistry. It's about being human in conditions that weren't designed for humans. It's about recognizing that you're an animal with specific needs, not a mind that can transcend the body through sufficient willpower. It's about working with your nature instead of against it. You are dopamine seeking satisfaction but trained to seek pursuit. You are serotonin needing genuine status but offered social comparison. You are cortisol detecting threat in every notification. You are oxytocin starving in a sea of digital connection. You are not managing this well because it cannot be managed. It can only be transformed by transforming the conditions producing it. And that transformation starts with a simple recognition. You are not your thoughts about your feelings. You are the chemistry producing those feelings, and you are the awareness noticing both. You are the whole process, not just the narrating voice at the top. When you see that clearly, something shifts. Not everything, not immediately, but something. The question becomes not how to control your chemistry, but how to create conditions where your chemistry can do what it evolved to do, help you survive and thrive in community with others. That's all it's ever wanted. That's all you've ever wanted underneath all the layers of conditioning and story and distraction. Your brain chemicals aren't controlling your mood. They are your mood responding to your life. Change your life and your chemistry follows. Or don't, and keep wondering why nothing else works. The choice, such as it is, has always been yours.